The Gooseworx controversy is way more serious than you think. It even makes me think that the Digital Circus fandom might be the most toxic of them all. And apparently, this situation is only just the beginning. Wanna know why? Well, let me explain. This new controversy started when the creator revealed who the true protagonists of the series are, which of course are Pomni and Jax. Well, this honestly wasn't anything new. What's surprising is that everyone ended up exploding with rage, specifically Ragatha and Kinger fans. The reason is that they believed those characters were protagonists too. And while that might sound pretty crazy to some people, the truth is that there actually is a very logical reason behind their idea. From the very beginning, it seemed like the real protagonist would actually be the whole group. But as more episodes were released, everything started pointing to Jax and Pomni being the main ones. But man, this really disappointed a huge part of the fandom, because it felt like their favorite characters were being pushed aside, specifically Ragatha and Kinger. Especially because Ragatha and Pomni had created a very close bond, and she was also the biggest emotional support for the rest of the characters. On the other hand, since episode 1, Kinger was shown as one of the key characters inside the Digital Circus. I mean, he always seemed to know much deeper things about the circus, almost as if he were the key to escaping. Of course, all of these details made it seem like they would play a much bigger role in the story. So for months, these fans started building theories, stories, and even ships based on the idea that the series was more of a group story. So then, what Gooseworx said sounded like she had tried to change the entire story for her own convenience. And well, even though the creator tried to explain and respond in order to calm the fandom's bad mood, the whole situation only got worse. The creator ended up deleting her Reddit account because people started saying things that directly attacked her. Things like claiming she had ruined the characters, that she was a hypocrite, and other accusations like that. Obviously, this turned out to be extremely stressful for Gooseworx, especially since episode 8 of the Digital Circus is coming out soon. And with all this drama, she feels very pressured by the fans' criticism, because expectations are incredibly high. The pressure became so intense that she even posted on Twitter that after the series ends, she doesn't want to have anything to do with the Amazing Digital Circus ever again. Man, that's honestly really sad. The Digital Circus is genuinely one of the best series out there, and seeing its own creator grow to hate it because of all the hate being thrown at her, literally for just telling the story she created, isn't exactly fair. And honestly, a lot of these fans are very wrong with their opinions and their criticism toward Gooseworx. She never said that the other characters weren't an essential part of the story. People are confusing a protagonist with important characters. And well, those are not the same thing. Characters like Ragatha, Kinger, Zoogle, or anyone else are obviously important characters. That's why they appear in the story. I mean, they're not NPCs either. But come on guys, not everyone can be the protagonist. And if you stop and actually think about everything we've talked about, you'll realize that this whole drama and controversy was completely unnecessary and could have been avoided. Because honestly, part of the blame does fall on both Gooseworx and the fandom. Let's start with Gooseworx. We have to understand that she had no idea how big the Digital Circus was gonna become. She simply created it, and from one day to the next, it suddenly became one of the most popular shows in the world. So, she was never really prepared for that. And that's exactly why she ended up involved in so many controversies throughout Digital Circus run. In short, she was never prepared for something like this. There's something called media training. It's basically training that people receive to learn how to speak or express themselves in public, and to avoid controversies like this. A clear example of this is the cast from Stranger Things. Go watch any of their interviews, even when they were still basically walking fetuses. And every time they're asked very revealing questions about the show, they say things like, "I can't talk about that." Or, "The only thing that I can say is that you'll have to wait until that episode releases." And things like that. Gooseworx could have really benefited from this kind of training. That way, instead of saying that Pomni and Jax were the protagonists, she could have said something like, "With the final episode, everyone will find out who the protagonists really are." And that's it! Nobody would be angry. On the other hand, we have the fandom. And honestly, what I'm about to say might be asking for too much. But if they had simply thought about the situation and acted a little more maturely, they could have understood what was actually happening. They could have just said, well, maybe Ragatha or Kengar aren't the protagonists. But that doesn't mean they're not important. And that's it! End of the story! This part of the fandom almost wants the entire story of the series to unfold exactly the way they imagined it. And we've already seen that many times when creators follow what the fans want, it ends up going very, very badly. A clear example of this is the series Star vs. the Forces of Evil. In that case, the creator listened to the fandom because, of course, that's what they wanted to see. And it ended up pushing many characters aside, while others didn't even get the development they were supposed to have. In the end, the series was left with one of the worst endings and became completely forgotten. So we definitely don't want that to happen to the Digital Circus, right? And honestly, it's embarrassing that all this toxicity and hateful criticism toward Gooseworx reached the ears of Glitch itself, which had to release a statement saying that toxic fans aren't good for anyone. Was it really necessary to go that far? I don't think so. Just let the creator continue telling her story and stop stressing her out with those aggressive comments. In the end, if people don't calm down, they might end up causing Digital Circus to get cancelled for good. Because the creator herself has said that she feels a lot of pressure about the series finale. She's afraid it won't be a great ending, because there's so many expectations about how it should end. Let's just hope they don't end up giving us a finale that feels like it was written with ChatGPT, like what they did with Stranger Things. But anyway, friends, what do you think about all this controversy and unnecessary drama coming from Digital Circus fandom? Do you agree with who the protagonists really are? Leave your opinions in the comments.